Hey guys, welcome back. And if you're new here, hello and welcome. Today I have my Zuri design team project featuring the Mermaid Whispers and the Seahorse Realm. I have poured these molds with my favorite Alumilite amazing casting resin, and I poured them in the white casting resin, and I will have a link to my affiliate link along with a coupon code in the description box below. So I'm going to start with a piece of MDF board, and I have this Prima packet paper pad, and I'm going to start with some double-sided adhesive. A lot of times I'll use matte medium to attach paper to MDF board, but because the Prima paper is nice and thick, I like to use double-sided tape, and lots of it, obviously, to attach the paper. So I'm just going to remove all the backing for that and make sure that's laid nice and snug. And then I'm going to attach the paper to the MDF board. I was going to paint the background, but I really liked the soft colors in this paper, so I decided to start with that as a background. So I'm just going to use my Fiskars finger trimmer. I don't even know if that's what that's called, but that's what I call it. So, I mean, it makes sense. You slide it over your finger and you trim. So I call it my finger trimmer, just to trim off the edges. And then I have holes drilled in the piece of MDF to make it good for hanging. So I take my bone folder and just make sure that's snug, like super, super tight on there, adhered with the double-sided tape. And then I just poke through the holes just to make sure that they're good and open. And then I'm going to take a nail file and rough up but yet smooth out the edges, just in case my cut job wasn't so good. And then I'm going to start with some DecoArt medium crackle paste. And I just go around I thought I was just going to do the corners, like the bottom right and the top left. But when I start playing with crackle paste, like, I kind of go a little overboard and I get a little crazy. Like, I tend to, and my friends can agree with me, and they think it's funny, but I struggle with white space. I struggle with blank space. I feel like I have to fill in everything. And so, like, having the background paper was kind of pointless because a lot of it gets covered up anyways. But it's whatever. You got to start somewhere, right? So like I said, I just was working in the corners, and then I was like, oh, well, let me add a little here and a little there. And before you know it, there was crackle paste everywhere. I didn't cover the entire piece, but, you know, I added it. And I actually let it dry naturally, which, as you guys know, I have no patience for dry time. But I did. I had other elements of this piece to work on, so I left it dry naturally. So, okay, even though I casted these molds with white resin, I wanted to paint them with oxide sprays, and the oxide sprays will not adhere to the resin, so I am going to cover them with, this is Liquitex white gesso. My white gesso I have in a gallon, in the gallon size, so I had to put it in a little Tupperware. But it needs tooth, so that's why, in order for the oxide to adhere to it. So that's why I covered it with gesso. So what I'm showing you here is I wanted to put these seahorses on top of this starfish. And when you pour the molds, the castings come out flat. So what I did was I heated them up with my heat tool, and excuse me, I heated them up enough that it softened the resin, and I was able to shape them to fit over top of that starfish. And then I set them on top of there and then let them harden back up again, let them like recure to the shape of that starfish. So, yeah, now that I spent all that time explaining that, I missed all the colors of the oxides that I'm using. But thank goodness for freeze frames and rewind. So I'm going to hit these with oxide sprays. I know for certain there's Mermaid Lagoon, and that's it. That's all I know for certain. Wild Honey, I think, is the orangish color. Vintage Photo, I'm sure, is the brown. I want to say that Denim is the darker blue. I think. Denim something. I could be wrong. But I'm spraying like crazy and splattering and drying between layers, spritzing it with water to get it to move, and going back and forth until I am happy with the results that I got. And so once I was happy with how the seahorses turned out, I'm going to go in with picked raspberry for the mermaid and the purple, which I showed earlier, whatever the purple was called. And you're going to see that I absolutely hated it because it was not the color palette that I was going for whatsoever. Although the colors looked really cool and they were very vibrant and funky, it was just not the look I was going for. So one good thing about oxides is if you don't like it, just spray it with water and you can wipe it off. Like, I mean, this looks super cool and super funky, but not for this project. And I mean, it looks like freaking confetti. So I just, look, spray it off and dab it, wipe it, and we can start over. So I decided to go back in with the blues and the greens that I did. Did I use green? Did I use green? I don't even remember. No, because the blues and the wild honey made green. I'm telling you, you know when I don't do a voiceover forever, this is what happens. So I decided to use the same colors as I used for the seahorses on the mermaid. And then I'm glad I decided to go with the same color scheme. I don't know what I was thinking trying to add another color in there. I mean, I was being ballsy doing an under the water themed piece to begin with. And then I was like, oh, let me just add all the colors. Yeah, that wasn't working. So I splattered some, and then here I'm just taking the pump of the nozzle, and no, that's not the pump, the stick part of the pump. And I'm just touching on some of the parts where I really want the color saturated, because as you know, if you use oxides, they look super, super vibrant until they dry. When they dry, they're a lot more chalkier. So now I'm going to take some clear gesso. Now that my crackle medium has dried naturally. I need a little tooth to it because I knew I was going to add some paint and some color in the background. And I just needed some tooth, so I added some clear gesso. Now I have this old crab net that we had in our bungalow in Maryland that was hung up for decoration. And I don't believe it was ever used for actual crabbing. I think it was just used for decor. But it was old and it was time to be repurposed. So I chopped it up and I'm going to use it as part of my background. And so I chopped it up, threw the extra pieces aside, and I'm just going to fix it to where I think I like it. And I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac and put a lot of glue down because that's a big honkin' chunk of netting right in the middle. So I'm going to start building my composition, and I'm going to start with the starfish. And I was a little frustrated because the oxide kind of scraped onto the starfish, and so the blue got onto the starfish, but I fixed it in the end anyway, so it was okay. I had to heat up the seahorses again to stretch them out a little so I could slide them onto the starfish without scraping all the blue paint off of it. So I'm going to use some Liquitex matte super heavy gel. It wasn't super necessary for the starfish or for the seahorses, but I had it out because I was going to use it for the a lot of the seashells that I had because they were really, really heavy. So I had it out and I used it on the seahorses. And once I get this little guy on, I'm going to put together my whole composition and lay it all out, and then I'm going to get to adhering everything. Putting seashells down on a canvas, whether it's an actual canvas or a piece of board or anything, is not the easiest feat, especially when they're these seashells that are like super pointy and they don't have a flat surface. So I felt like I was just like slapping down the gel medium and just like putting it everywhere. And it looked so janky until it dried. Like it just looked like there was adhesive everywhere. And I could not wait for it to dry to get pictures because it looked terrible. It really did. But I mean, in the end, I was happy with it. But like this seashell was one of my favorites. And I moved it like 4 times because I liked the inside of the shell, but I liked the outside of the shell. I liked the front of it. I liked the back of it. And I just couldn't decide which way I liked it, how I wanted it to stick out. Then I have these glass, they're really plastic, but they look like glass baubles, I never even know that word, carbochians? That's not the right word. Yeah, those things. The little glass beads, but they're not little. They're big honkin' ones. I kind of wanted them to be like bubbles without being little tiny bubbles. I do have some smaller ones that I add to as well. But I wanted this piece to look more like a big crustacean. Like everything was crusted together on the bottom of the sea. So now I'm going in with Tiger Orange and Burnt Sienna, Finnabair liquid acrylics, and I'm just going to add some color to the background. So if you notice when I'm spraying the water to the background, I was really trying to cover the seahorses and the mermaid because I didn't want to spray the water onto those pieces because the water will reactivate the oxide sprays on those, and then I would lose the color and the blue would just drip down onto the background, and that's what I was trying to avoid. So I was really careful with how I was spraying. The blue ended up getting spritzed a little bit, so the blue got in places I didn't originally intend for it to get, but that's okay because it worked out in the end anyways. So I'm just adding the different colors, the burnt sienna and the burnt orange, tiger orange. I don't know why I can't get my colors right today. And again, I struggle with the white space. I feel like everything has to be covered in color. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's something I got to work on. We all have something we have to work on, and that's my thing. One day I'll get there. One day. My friends are going to give me a lesson in white space. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do a live stream, and they'll teach me. They'll teach me the key to white space. So I'm just going to add color to, like the rusty color to the background. And this is how it looks. And this focus, there we go, was out. And you can see that top seashell, like I moved it around so many different times. Now I'm going to go in, and you can't see it off to the side because I zoomed in and didn't realize. I'm going to go in and I'm going to dry brush with white gesso. And I went with white gesso instead of white paint because even though it goes on super thick, super saturated, as gesso dries, it tones down. It's not as vibrant as when it's dry as it is when it's wet. So it looks very bright, and don't ask me why I painted those clear bubbles because I don't know what I was thinking. And like I really took the time to paint this one, and then I was like, the hell are you thinking? And then I had to wipe it off anyways. Dumb. So I'm going to dry brush all the seashells and the background and the netting. And then at the end, I waited till the end to do the seahorses and the mermaid because I did want to dry brush them because I wanted to bring out the highlights of all the texture and all the details in those castings. But when you'll see it now, when you add wet medium onto oxide inks, sprays, whatever, anything oxide, it's going to reactivate that oxide. So see, you can see it on my brush. It's gonna, anything distress, Tim Holtz line distress, it's going to reactivate it. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a lot of gesso on my brush. And when you dry brush, you normally wipe off a whole hell of a lot from your brush. I'm not wiping off a lot. I'm kind of leaving my brush pretty saturated, and I'm dry brushing really thick instead of a real light coat of a dry brush like you normally would. And then as I'm picking up the oxide, as it's saturating onto my brush, I'm cleaning my brush off before I go and dip into more gesso, if that makes sense. Because I don't want to, the next batch of gesso I pick up, I don't want to add the blue to it. Excuse me. So you are able to add wet medium on top of the Distress line. You just got to be careful about it. So yeah, I think we're coming to the end of it. I think. Probably not. I'm sure there's something else I did to it. You know how it is. I think I was at the end of the line, and then I really wasn't. Let's see. Dry brush. I was trying so hard not to spread that blue everywhere. But like I said, I still wanted to highlight with the white gesso everything. So I dried that. Oh yeah, see, there's always another step just when I think I'm done. I did add a piece of twine to the holes to create a hanger, and I just thought that twine would go good with the like the nautical theme rope. It would match the crab pot netting. And then I'm going to take the burnt umber and tiger orange and just go around the edges just to finish it off. And that's it. A close-up video shots, and then a quick close-up at the end. And that is it. That's it. I swear I didn't add anything else to it. But yeah, I know I haven't been creating videos a lot lately, and for that, guys, I'm sorry. I know I said I'd keep up a little bit more. I've just been so stinking busy. I'm gonna get back to it again, I promise. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I probably should have said it earlier in the video, but if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe. And if you're not, if you're one of my subscribers already, I love you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.